having said that, this is a really important point of something that we've tried bringing forth for a while now on the YouTube channel. When Ashurah was taken out, Ashurah was the feminine aspect of the divinity of God, and it's interesting is it was prior to the time of Abraham. It was all during the time of David. It was all during the time of Solomon that this energy was allowed to be. And it wasn't until King Josiah, I believe it was King Josiah, that actually tore down all the high places of worship, tore down all the Asherah poles, the Asherim, and took it completely out. And so when all of that was complete, now, please connect to this, because one of the most amazing writings that was done by Solomon was the unification of his masculine energy with his own feminine energy, which resulted in the Song of Songs. The book of Song of Songs, or the Song of Solomon, was the unification of his masculine and feminine energies within. You know, they've always said, who is the Shulamite? Who is the Shulamite? Nobody knows who the Shulamite is. And when Ken and I started looking at the language, we're like, it was him, because Shalomo and Shulamite have the same root word, which is Shalem. It's peace, but it's safety, and it's unification, and it's completed in its whole. So he literally was writing this song about his own maturation process in coming and falling in love, or becoming one love within his very own self. So it's phenomenal to see this. But during his time, during the time of David, during the time of the tribesmen before, Asherah was part of the worship system. Ashurah was the queen of heaven. So we had this masculine and feminine energy that was trying to reveal things to Israel of who they were. Now this is going to blow some gaskets here, because when I connected this, because again, okay, so connecting Ken and I, and even Lemoyne, to the Hebrew roots movement that we were involved with for many years, caused a lot of damage. We hurt a lot of our family because of it. We didn't mean to. We thought what we were doing was right. But again, we had to see the dual system running to be able to compare the grace of Christianity and the judgment of the Hebrew roots movement. But there were elements that we were able to take to neutralize. So having said that, because of this very strong judgmental position, you know, you start talking about Asherah and you talk about the Asherim poles, you just stepped into idolatry. And you shall have no other God before me. And I know Lemoyne knows this intimately. I mean, because we walked through this. Now, this is the crazy part. What you have right here on the board in front of you is the word Israel. Now, the way it will be taught to you is that we have this little yod. Let me use a different color because this will help be able to show you guys. So the way that we're taught this is we have this little yod that is sticking out here. And then we have this little word right here. Where's my red pen? Oh, here we go. And then we have this right here. So what it's showing is that it's like three different elements of this word for Israel. And Israel, we know, is all 12 tribes. So the way it was taught to me, or to Ken, was that this one right here, and we'll highlight with this with purple, this one right here comes from Sarah, which, if you think of Sarah, Sarai, whose name was changed to Sarah, what means one who prevails or one who overcomes, right? So we have no problem with that. So Israel would say, they would look at this and go, this is one who has overcome and prevailed as God. And they don't even address the yod in front. They don't do anything with the yod. It's just kind of like, oh, it happens to be there. But when you start digging with the letters, you begin to see this profound message that has been hidden because the patriarchy cannot handle the truth of what is being revealed, because the patriarchy would then have to accept the feminine energy that they literally cut the head off of. They literally got rid of it. And this is why the fullness, the absolute fullness of the becoming was never happened, because she that energy got excommunicated and got obliterated, but the mystery of it is held within this word. For those of you who have hung out with us for a while and have seen our teachings, understand that the aleph and the yod are also interchangeable, are they not? And for those of you who don't know that, let me explain. I'll try not to take too long on this. Ken's going, oh boy, she's getting long-winded in the mechanics again. The yod has a gematria of 10. The aleph has a gematria of 1. In toroidal reduction math, they have the same number because 0, you ought the 0 out. They both are 1. We know that the aleph, if you've seen some of my sharings, is made up of 2 yods and a vav. So they really are united together into make this word or this letter that is the complete essence of the strong leader, the essence of God, the essence of the unseen, the absolute, the mystery of the many who are one. This, in actuality, is this. Here is your word, Asher, Ashurah. The Queen of Heaven, who has been given the staff of authority of Father. Whenever you see a lamed added on a suffix of the word, it is one of the most profound things that you will see in the writings, and it is very rarely written that way. So when I began to see this, I was like, oh my gosh, the Queen of Heaven is literally hidden within the name Israel. It's within the name. But unless you look at it, so what happened, and this is where we need to connect it, Daryl, thank you for the queendom. Thank you for bringing that forward, because this little yod means the power, like the hands that are doing the power, the work of the Queen of Heaven. This word right here, yeesh, a being of substance. The hands of Ashurah are given to those who have substance, that are of royalty, Shin Resh, that are of the royal lineage of God, that will carry the staff of authority of Father because of that divine feminine energy. And that is all contained in the word Israel. And it needs to be shared this way now, because the revelation of it is here, the energy, that which came in the month of May, Yakhol, to be able, the magic returning, is to give the Queen of Heaven, to give the people of Ashurah the ability to do things to change the frequency of that which is around us. The last thing, Asher, Ken was sharing this the other day. Asher means the happy, the fortunate ones, the straight, the upright, the just. So I wanted to connect it because he was talking about the center pole that is directly, that casts no shadow, because as the observer from the Queen of Heaven, who is seated above in high places, looking down, there is no more shadow. Well, actually, that pole doesn't cast a shadow. There is no shadow in its turning. So yes, please do. So I hope you guys are connecting with that, because that is, for me, it knocked my socks off. Well, actually, fortune goes, that's why I released the trust. The word for Asher actually means the trust, the trusted. It says fortune and wealth, but it roots out at like a trust as an account that's been built, and now you can draw from that, and it's the place of trust. But it's like a vault that is only accessible by an inheritance or by knowing the combination that allows you into the trust of deed by a responsible act of the work of the deed of the hand. And it's interesting. By the way, thank you for letting me share that. Yeah, I really appreciate it. So I can sum it up in one picture. I know that the Aleph is more from the Paleo and then into, but everything speaks. But so if we even draw the Aleph in the stance of upright, as the Asherim pole should be standing, then we can take the Aleph and as above, so below. We're connecting now with the window. One hand, the power of the right is fulfilled now, and this is a conduit in the earth because there is no shadow and it's turning. God, that's the Sufi dance. And now I'm completely a whirlwind. This is actually a code for the tornado. I'm a whirlwind in the earth because I've turned the nature of off kilter. There is no more shade in this. Saying the same thing. There is no
casting a shadow in this because I'm completely looked down now, and my right hand equals my left hand, and what I pull in, I now deposit.
So in other words, when they do this and this, it's as above, so below, and it's the Aleph in its upright form.
These will be whirlwinds. This is be another dimension of creative potential that we're reaching into the beyond and to be positing it into the earth. This was always the intention. This was always the intention, to know the way of upright, to know the way of the Ashurim, that both dimensions, actually all spheres are here, but this is a whirlwind. This is a vortex. And it's just another way to see it. And the Spirit just said that, draw that. You're fine to draw that now, to release this. That it's just another way to see the Aleph completed as one measure.
This is a representation, you guys would know this through the Sufis dance. You know how the Sufis spin? This is coming from that. And the Sufi that introduced the whirling, what do they call it? The whirling
derby.
The
dervish.
Dervishes.
Anyway, there we go. The Sufi who came up with that is Rumi. You guys, anybody read Rumi's poetry? The whirling dervish. There we go. So that was a representation of changing that spin and that vortex as a complete representation of having found center without having a wobble. Completely being able to spin in that energy. And Rumi is Resh Vav Mem Yod. Rum means to exalt and elevate. The Yod on the suffix side is to exalt and elevate the power through the work and the deed of the divine feminine hand through Father.
And that's where we get the word.
Incredible.
That's where we get the word Aram from. And it's directly connected to Asher. Asher actually morphs down into the lofty citadel, and it's the word for Aram. It's where we get the word Aramaic from. That's why when I first started, it's not Aramaic actually. He
always calls it Aramic.
It's Aramic. Because when if we see it correctly, it's just the lofty language, but it's in us. We don't need to really.
Although when saying Aramaic, the Yod is put in the center, which means the power of the heart.
Right. So again.
So you have the mind of Christ and the power of the Magdalene right here.
Right. Right.
And that's the difference.